Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brown, any changes to the agenda?
Thank you so much, Director Rowe. Yes, we do. So B10, item B10 on the agenda, we're going to split that into a B10 and B11. B10 will be approval to certify the election results for the 3 directors. B11 will be request approval for resolution 23-07 certifying the results for the Emergency Services Levy for the May 16, 2023 election.
At this time, we're asking for approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting on May 16, 2020. Any board member have comments? Moving on to the minutes for the regular board meeting on May 15, 2022. At this time, we call for public statements regarding district business. No one has reached out to me. If there's anyone who did not have an opportunity to prior to the meeting, discuss what in public comment, please use the raise hand function if you are video conferencing. This time, Chief Brown,
Awesome. Thank you so much, Director Wall. So we're doing something just slightly a little different. Typically, what we do is we attach some little packet pictures of a little about new employees in the fire district. As you will see with our addition in logistics. But with this, I thought it was an awesome opportunity to bring forward 14 new recruits into the Clackamas Fire family. This is the 14 that have come through the state-funded apprentice program. And I couldn't be more excited seeing all 14 of them here. I'm proud of them and I'm just excited to see where this goes. With that, I would love to turn over some time to Captain Nate Vaughn, who's overseeing the program. He's just going to give you a little high-level information, and I'm just excited to get this and bring the groups. Thank you. For the directors of the group, 15 years ago, could be more excited for the and I still expect today, especially coordinate with this program. It's been a challenge to say the least, but this has been years making it a long time dream. The President Carl Kenny to see this come to fruition. Many of you know the history, but back in 2020, during the devastating wildfires, legislation stemmed after those devastating wildfires to bring forward the grant dollars and funded difference program to get more firefighters and apparatus, to bring more person staffing to apparatus what we needed the most in those heavily important areas of Jackson County Fire, and today, you know, I actually want to show some numbers of here. So 7. Maybe we started with 6. 6, 7, 9, 12.
mark in the budget, I came with a new number. We started with saying we were going to do 6 apprentices. We think we can do 6. We got this. 2 years, we got it. Maybe we can do 7. We'll throw 7 at it. And then it came 9. Well, if the levy passes, I mean, we're hiring 60 in the next 4 years. Let's do a little bit more of this. And we had 2 more on the list, and we said, these are solid candidates. We can't leave 2 on the list. And as you see, we have 14 recruits here, starting week 3 this week. It's been a grueling 2 weeks, but I couldn't be more proud to be part of the program, to have Lieutenant Micah Shelton, who's actually number 1 on the captain list. I couldn't be more proud to work with Micah. We didn't think we were going to get anyone to buy into the program, and Micah came on. It's been awesome so far. But I couldn't be more proud to introduce you to the 14 candidates. So we're going to go through. They're going to give their name, where they came from, and then a little fun fact about themselves. So let's start with Mr. Matt Solano. You can have it.
May you close that window,
You bet.
please?
Pleasure here. My name is Matt Solano. Thank you for having us here. Before I got hired onto Clackamas, I was building scaffold for a living for like 6 years, hanging on skyscrapers, doing the fun stuff. And, I saw this opportunity arise, and I always wanted to be a firefighter since I was little. And I thought it was out of the cards for me. And then this was made possible. And so I went for it and took the leap of faith. Went through the whole process, and it was really hard and tough to speak in front of people. And I've never spoken in front of a panel interview before, so that was really tough too. But I'm glad I went for it, and now I'm here. And yeah, I'm just very thankful to be here. And a couple of my fun hobbies, I think that's a
Fun fact, yeah.
fun fact about me. I enjoy drumming. I drum almost every other Sunday at different churches in the Portland or, Gresham area. So that's one of the things that I really love to do on the weekends, and it's a, fun way to release all the stress or all the, anxiety that an academy can give you. So, thank you.
Watch out for the Clackamas Fire Pipes and Drums. They might recruit you.
Hello again. Thank you all for having us here today. My name is Darian Washington. I'm originally from Los Angeles. Made my way up to the Pacific Northwest to play football. Started out at University of Washington, finished out at Portland State. My why, I wanted a career that would afford me the ability to be in the community and to serve the community. Also, I was looking for something that gave me back that team, that family feeling, and a place that had high culture, positive culture. And when this opportunity came, again, went for it. And fortunately, I found all those things here at Clackamas Fire. Today, we got the opportunity to ride around with firefighter Dennis Hoffman. And he said something that my dad always told me: if you find something that you love to do, you never work a day in your life. And so we're 1 day into week 3, and I haven't felt like I come to work yet. So I think I'm up to this. Fun thing, I'm hobbyist. Anything that goes fast, you can find me on or something like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm a father, 6-year-old little boy, and out of his 6 Halloweens, he's been a firefighter for 2 of them. One I chose, one is put in there, so this is awesome. Thank you.
Chase Dolka, I was born and raised just right down the road at Estacada. That's where I went to high school. Got an amazing family, beautiful wife, Malia, and a beautiful daughter named Maylee. She's only a year old. Fun fact about me is I went to college to play tennis, and that is a big why on why I'm here doing the fire thing. I did sales and construction for this, and never really got that team environment or that passion for that. I had that passion for tennis, and so I wanted to find something that would bring the best out of me that tennis did, and firefighting's done that 100%. I feel like ever since I've been at Clackamas Fire, it's been 2 weeks. I literally just had a conversation with my wife that it's already making me become a better person when it comes to the little things, finding a way to whoever you come in contact with, let them know, like win that conversation, win that moment. So yeah.
My name is Jake Hoffman. Thank you for having us. I was born and raised in Beaver Creek, about a mile from Station 10. I studied engineering at Oregon State and then did industrial hydraulic installations for 5 years and then project management for 2. More recently, I'm a Christmas tree farmer. My fun fact is the property my wife and I are living on has been in our family since 1909.
Hey, I'm Jake Copra. Thanks for having us. I grew up in Gresham, played college basketball and baseball, and then played pro baseball for a couple of years. Before this, I was a teacher, and I wanted something that combined those two, where I'm still in a career where I'm helping people, but in more of a team environment than what I was doing. I am married to my wife, Caitlin, and then we have an 18-month-old daughter named Eloise. Just starting to run around. So it's a fun age. They're my world. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Mohammed. I was born and raised in Iraq, moved to the States when I was 21. I was in the volunteer academy that's graduating this week. That's run by Mr. Ryan. When I came, I said it, and I keep saying it probably for the rest of my career. It began with me wanting to be a firefighter, and it became about wanting to become a Clackamas fighter because of the culture, and that's demonstrated by all the people, like Captain Nate and Lieutenant Shelton and Ryan. So yeah, I look forward. I'm honored and thankful for all the hard work that people got put into making this program happen. And thank you.
Hi, my name is Maddie Pemberton. I was born and raised in the Gresham area. For the last 3 years, I've been a middle school teacher. My first 2 years was in general education, and then my last year was serving a really awesome population of high needs special ed kids. They were the best, and they were life-changing. 3 months after having my son, I heard about the apprentice program, which made it feel almost impossible to kind of jump in. But thanks to my husband and my family, they totally encouraged me to do something that I've always wanted to do. I just never knew how to get in. And here we are, an amazing opportunity. The last 3 weeks have been the absolute best. Fun fact about me, I went down to Southern Oregon, played volleyball, and I came back up and coached at Mountain Community College, which is also part of the reason why I came into firefighting. I'm a big team-oriented person, and I realized that coaching, I wanted to be part of the team again, and I wanted to be part of like who was making the plays and who was going out and serving the community. So I'm definitely not a sideline person. I'm definitely someone who wants to be on the team and in the action. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Torres. I'm from the Portland Gresham area. Before I went down this route, I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years. And then I got out, went to line school, tried to work as an electrical lineman, like a PG or so, but COVID happened. So I got on the communication side. I chose to come down this route just because I missed that control chaos and I got tired of climbing poles all day. So I wanted to do something a little different where every day is different. A little fun fact about me is almost every weekend I'm off or any day I'm off, I'm taking the Jeeps out camping, off-roading, or fixing the Jeeps from camping and off-roading. Yep.
Thanks for having us. My name is Matthew Dutt. I was born and raised in the Portland area. Before this, served in the military. That's pretty much the only job that I've had since high school, so about 14 years of that. That was a big reason I came over to this. I did public service with that, but I kind of missed some of the teamwork from early on, so being able to incorporate the two. My wife and I live in Albany, Oregon now, and really the only fun fact about me would be my father, I think, to the rest of the class. That's all I talk about, my 13-month daughter, Madeline Lydia. Thanks.
Hi, thank you for having us all. My name is Elia Earl. I was born and raised in Reno, Nevada, and I actually moved up 2 days before this program started, so haven't been here for too long, but I knew I wanted to do firefighting, and I just think it's really important that if it's something you see yourself doing for 25 plus years, you do it somewhere that not only stands for something, but is recognized like around a country just as having a really good culture. Found that really important. I actually just told someone randomly back home, like, oh, I got a Clackamas, and he was from California. He's like, oh, I've heard that's an amazing place. I'm like, what are the odds? Like, I just thought that was really important to me. And so I moved up and moved. And so far, those last 2 weeks, every single good thing I've heard has been true. And I would say a fun fact about me is I have my black belt. We got that a long time ago, so I don't know how much of it I still know, but probably do something if I have to.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. I think I can speak on behalf of all of us, expressing our gratitude for all the hard work from everybody in this room to make this program happen. It's a real privilege to be here. My name is Aaron Smothers. Born and raised in the Pacific Northwest. Dad was a firefighter, played college baseball, did the military. I'm the old man of the group, so done a lot of things. But my why was really just the camaraderie and dynamic work environment with the opportunity to really affect somebody's life in a positive manner. Fun fact about myself, when I was working for the Seattle Mariners, I actually had the opportunity to catch a future Cy Young Award winner. So that was pretty amazing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ari Bakros. Thank you for having us. I'm originally from New York City, born and raised. I moved out to Portland in 2019, right before everything shut down. I have a background in project management and pursued my master's in information science. I worked as a product designer before I got sick of working in a home office for 12 hours a day. I love working with my hands. I love being amongst a team of people, and fire just felt natural. I have a very deep respect for the fire service. Fun fact, I am a dog sport enthusiast. I'm working on certifying my working line German Shepherd, Clackamas search and rescue, in trailing and in tracking.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caleb Clarkson, and as all of us have stated, thank you for having us here and then also for advocating for this program. We're all super grateful to have this opportunity. In my previous life, I was in the military for 3.5 years and had a short stint in private ambulance. I've always known I wanted to be a firefighter. I grew up with a firefighter dad, and so kind of was always pushed on with all the little toys and everything growing up, fire trucks and stuff, and getting to put on his turnouts. So now getting to do it myself is a very humbling and super fun experience. A fun fact for me is that I've jumped out of an airplane more times or than the years I've been on this earth. So.
Hello, I'm Misty Pyburn. I'm a former teacher, middle school math and elementary dual immersion. I looked at this as a way I can continue to help the community, but also have a blast doing it. I wanted to reiterate our gratitude because all of us here feel extremely lucky to have been accepted into this program and get to do this every day. So just wanted to say thank you again. And fun fact, I was a national champion wrestler.
Whoa.
Is
there any questions from the board?
No, anything you want to wrap up, Chief Captain Hunt?
Whoa. Yeah.
Field promotion.
Yeah, just happened. No, I just want to thank you guys again for having us. As you can see, the people I get to work with every day are pretty amazing. And it's going to be, it's going to be a great 16 weeks. So
What's a fun fact about Nate?
Ooh. Oh boy, where do I start? Fun facts about Nate. Well, I have a 15 and 14-year-old daughters.
You'll think that's fun.
Fun fact that most people don't know is I know how to juggle.
You're a firefighter.
That's it. That's it. Just put me on the spot, guys.
Buddy, I thought you were going to throw out the In-N-Out burger.
Oh, okay. So as many of you know, there's a tool in the fire service called the Halligan. So does anyone know what year the Halligan?
1938.
You guys know. Same year the In-N-Out burger opened. 1948. We haven't learned anything. 2 weeks. 1948 In-N-Out burger and the Halligan. So two great things. One year.
It's a key to the city.
Yeah.
I'll show it to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for having us.
Fun fact from the lieutenant.
Oh, my God.
You already said I was one of the captains, so that's fun. I used to be a big comic book collector, and I have a complete set from all 5 different artists of the Superman Death and the Superman Rebirth, autographed by each individual artist. And then the fifth one that they came out with in public, signed by everybody, so. it's never going back.
Wow.
That's very cool.
That's cool.
Little collector out of me. Yeah. I got a wife and 2 boys, and happy to be here as well. Been here 10 years and still excited to be here.
Well, thank you, apprentices, all for coming tonight and spending your time with us. We appreciate your enthusiasm and your dedication, and look forward to your graduation from the apprenticeship program. And I think Thomas wants to say something.
I'm sitting here listening to all of you, your background. I'm blown away. I'm impressed. We are lucky to have you on this team. And Chief Brown and your team did a phenomenal job of selecting the diverse group of people that make us proud every day. Thank you.
Appreciate you saying that, Thomas. A lot of credit for that goes to Nate Hahn, to be honest with you.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're gonna depart early. Yes. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Be careful.
Yeah.
So Thomas, are you gonna sit down for this?
I'm gonna get some water.
Okay. We're about to do the swearing in, not the swearing out.
Oh. Okay.
He's leaving. He's done.
Well, he doesn't have to be elected if he doesn't want to. Okay, at this time, we're gonna do the swearing in of the board of directors. Chief Brown?
Awesome. If Director Searing, Director Wall, and Director Thomas Josephs, please stand, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Thomas Joseph,
Having been elected as a director of the Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors.
having been elected as a board of director of Darkhorse.
Okay, let me start over. Having been elected as a director of Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors.
Of Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors.
Hereby accept that office.
Hereby accept that
Office.
office.
And swear that
And swear that
I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
and of the state of Oregon.
And the state of Oregon.
Will perform faithfully,
Will perform faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
the duties bestowed upon me
the duties bestowed upon me
as a director,
as a director,
as described in
as described in
Oregon Revised Statutes,
Oregon Revised Statutes,
Chapter 478.
Chapter 478.
And I will conduct my public affairs
I will conduct my public affairs
in a manner consistent with
in a manner consistent with
the Clackamas Fire District Code of Conduct,
Clackamas Fire District Code of Conduct,
all to the best of my ability.
all to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Chief Nick. True that. We'll make for true that. Better than like gas. It's a good thing the apprentices weren't here to see
This time, we're gonna have a supplemental budget hearing. B1, request board approval of resolution 23-04, adopting and appropriating a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2022, 2023, which is this fiscal year. CFO Mark Wood.
Okay, I'll keep this brief, but as you know, we're required by state budget law to not spend more than is appropriated. And so as we approach the end of the year, there's a little concern that we will spend more than is appropriated as currently in the budget. particularly in emergency operations and the chief's office due to some reorganizations as well as overtime like we've talked about before due to conflags and operational replacement. The good thing is that at the same time we have higher than anticipated expenses, we've also had higher than anticipated revenues, right? We had budgeted AV to only grow 3.25%, it ended up growing close to 4%. So we have a little bit of increase in property taxes. We've had a lot more revenue from GEMT and some other sources. So requesting a $950,000 increase in appropriations offset by a $950,000 increase in revenue. All in all, with 4 days left, we should finish the year with a small surplus in the general fund, unless something really unanticipated happens in these last 4 days. So feeling good about that, and I would just request approval of the supplemental budget as proposed in the resolution.
Do you have the medical cost all in?
We do not have all the medical. We have 1 more week.
Hoping, huh?
I mean, yeah, we have some room in the medical expense line still, so it would have to be a really abnormally high number to throw us off the budget there.
Any questions, comments, anybody? Okay, then, if there are no comments on that, I would like to have a motion to approve resolution 23-04, adopting and appropriating a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2022-23.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or comment? Okay, hearing none. Shelley, would you call the roll, please?
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
All right, now, thank you. Passes unanimously. Now we will have a budget hearing for the budget for next year. Request board approval of resolution 23-05, adopting the budget, making appropriations and levying taxes for fiscal year 2023-24. CFO Whitaker.
Yeah, thank you again. So this would adopt the budget for next fiscal year and adopt the tax rates, both the permanent tax rate and the 52 cents per thousand that was approved by the voters last month, and the necessary rate to cover our GO bond debt service. The budget, as presented in the resolution, is pretty much matches the proposed budget that's before you. There's one small change due to some position changes that shifts some expenditures from business services to the chief's office. And then of course, there's the change in the loan payoff proposal that we talked about in the budget committee hearing. Otherwise, everything should be identical to what the budget committee approved. So I'll take questions, or if there are none, I would recommend approval of the budget for fiscal year 23-24.
Questions, comments? I have a question on the resolution. Do we have to affirmatively state the permanent rate, the local option tax, and the general obligation allocation?
I don't think you need to state it. It's
We do not.
in the resolution.
Okay, all right. Then at this time, I have a motion for resolution 23-05, adopting the fiscal year 2023-24 budget, making appropriations and levying taxes. Moved and seconded. Further discussion or questions, anyone? Okay, hearing none, Shelby, please call the roll.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Just, it's a little tardy, but is there anybody who wants to make a public comment on the budget? We have to have a separate opportunity for people to speak on that question. No, thank you. Sorry, late, but we would still listen. All right. At this time, we'll have our presentation for the annual workers' compensation renewal from Agent of Record Jeff Griffin with the Associates, who brings us bad news.
I do. And hopefully what I'm going to do is first address where we're at. I'm going to talk a little bit about options long-term, and then I'm going to talk about the future. So in your packet, you have a review of the different rates that SAFE has offered at this juncture. And I'd like to talk about why the change. Really, there are three things that have impacted the rates. First, we had a payroll change. So we went up about $4 million in payroll. Second is we had an experience mod change from, we had a very low mod of 0.66 and went up to 0.84. Now, before you get concerned, I want to tell you that the frequency of claims you have is low for the size of the department. 0.84 is unheard of today, and I've mentioned it before over the years, that your experience mod is extremely low and what we call compacted. So very few claims inflate that fairly quickly. Most of your competitors, most of you are not competitors, most of your contemporaries in the fire service in Oregon are over 1. So the fact that you're at 0.84 is unbelievable. Now, a very low loss year went off, a higher loss year came on, and we have a high loss year that's going to come on next year. Now, much of that's in reserves. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But you had an expanding mod that represented about 18% of that change. And then the rest of the change was in rate in the actual tier. So SAFE has made some changes in their tier. They're extremely concerned about post-traumatic stress. That just straight up, that's where they're at. And what is driving those rates. In 2010, Oregon picked up 12 body system cancers. We argued then and we argue today that the number of cancers is not going to drive the rate a great deal. In fact, what SAFE will tell you is that we see about 5 cancer claims a year. So it's not overwhelming. When we look at the numbers through the associations, we look at other states, everything you're doing, we're picking up cancers early and we're having very good luck keeping those numbers down. Today, working with SAFE, they're sitting on roughly 5 cancer claims, 25 post-traumatic stress claims. So in 2019, June of 2019, Oregon added post-traumatic stress, as many states have around the country. Their concern is that their success ratio today in managing those claims is not good. Once we get a post-traumatic stress, and quite frankly, of the 25 that we have right now they're managing, most are police officers and 911. We don't have that many firefighters in it. The big concern that they have is that when an individual files that claim, frequently it is a lifelong claim. We went to work a little over a year ago with the association and with SAFE to try to come up with some solutions. And I don't know if Brian has talked about it to this board or not, but Brian is on my board with Oregon Fire Chiefs. And we've come up with a 5-tier program to try to mitigate those. We're having some success with that program. We believe next week SAFE will endorse the program and actually put some money towards it to do a few things that we're looking forward to have happen here in Oregon. DPSST has already jumped on board, and I think they've given us $100,000, something like that. We think SAFE is going to come in probably at about half of that. So it's a 5-step program to try to mitigate this. A little different approach to pre-hire, a different approach to orientation once our firefighters are hired, a different approach to what we call Q&A and Q&I, the preventive piece, educating firefighters, working with them, trying to do a better job of identifying stressful situations early on, and then a significantly different approach to claims management. What we've found is that today, the board docs that are approved by the workers' comp carriers don't really understand post-traumatic stress for the fire service. So what happens when a firefighter files that claim and starts down that road, the first thing that happens is they're labeled with post-traumatic stress. And then they are caught at the low point of their life and they never get out of that. Now, what we found a number of months ago was a group called Struggle Well out of New York. The program is called Boulder Crest. Mouse believes in them enough to where we actually put quite a bit of money towards them to get them out for a number of days. And then we found a second program that we use, which is the West Coast Trauma Retreat. Some of you know a guy named Tim Dietz. He's actively involved with that program. What we want to do is handle the claims differently. The West Coast Trauma Retreat group boasts a 94% cure rate. Now, what they say is Most of those people will come back as a firefighter. Some will end their claim, but not come back as a firefighter. But the important thing is that the individual is back in the saddle, dealing with life and their work. The fifth piece of this program is a pre-retirement piece. What we found is that a lot of individuals identify, and you heard it with our candidates, they wanted to be a firefighter. And when they retire, they lose that identity. One Monday, they're going 90 miles an hour, serving the public, and the next day they're in the front yard painting the fence, and they've lost that identity. So we get a fair number of suicides and a lot of claims post-retirement on that. So those are the 5 pieces. SAFE has been, we've been working with SAFE very closely. They've been looking at analyzing our data and our recommendations. And we think in the next couple of weeks, we hope next week that they approve it and they jump on board. And the key factor for us is that we make available to our firefighters a different claims management system. That's most critical. I want to back up to your experience mod. You're at 0.84, which is phenomenal. We have some claims, we have some open reserves. We had 3 very large claims this last year. $1.2 million, I think, is what we're showing currently. Some of that's in reserve. We'll be watching that. It's critical that we get those taken down before December 31st, because any dollars that are in reserve will go into next year's mod. So we want to manage those claims as best we possibly can. The new rates will come out the first part of October for next year. We think the rates aren't going to change a whole lot, but our tier could, and our experience mod could change. What are our options? To say today, we don't have good options like we've had in the past. In the past, we've brought quotes from special districts. This past year, special districts moved all of their comp over to SAFE. They created a partnership. So SDA was not an option today. Second option that we brought you in the past is a group called 7710. When initially cities and counties who have police and fire moved their workers' comp over 2 years ago to SAFE. And then this last year, SDO moved over to SAFE. 7710 said, wait a minute, we're not sure we want to be in Oregon. We want to watch and see. So we approached them. They have 1 client currently, Douglas County Fire 2. They're actually doing a very good job down there. They're servicing them well, and we're anxious to see them come back and be more aggressive downstream. There are roughly 100 filed insurance companies for workers' compensation. Most of those do Main Street type businesses, State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, those kinds of things. Very few play in emergency services or public sector. And right now we do not have other good options. If we lost SAFE, we would go into the pool, and that we don't want to do. I don't project that here. Our loss mod is very low. Our claims ratio is very low. We look very good. Even though our mod expanded, it's not from anything you did wrong. When I look and we analyze the claims, you're far above neighboring districts. The concern is that we've had 3 very large claims. Most of those were all presumption type claims. Long-term future, our hope is that SAFE, your fire chiefs come together and produce a program that shows solid results. Everything we've seen so far from Struggle Well and from the West Coast Trauma Retreat would suggest that we're going to have some real solid success. Questions I can address for you?
Is it possible a SAFE will not write next year? I mean,
No.
there would be no carriers in the state?
No.
They'll just drive the premiums.
Highly unlikely. SAFE is quasi-public. They're very sensitive to public entities. They've jumped in and picked up literally all the public entities in the state except for the ones that are self-insured. I would be shocked if they did that. I don't think that's going to be an issue. The issue is going to be rate. Now, one of the things that SAFE did do this last year, which indicates their concern with the public sector and in particular presumptions, is they added a tier. So there used to be a 6-tier company. So National Council on Compensation out of Boca Raton, Florida publishes the peer rate, and then all carriers load that rate a little bit. Safe's lowest load is a 110, their highest load, they just added a new load in at 195. So they're watching the marketplace very closely. Their rates went up slightly and they added a tier. That would suggest that they believe, and I think they're correct, that the National Council rates are artificially low. Are they going to jump out? I don't think so. I think that the worst case scenarios, we're going to see a tier increase. We publish a document each February, budget document for you. I think we were pretty close to spot on when you add in the experience mod change and the payroll change. And we'll have one out again this next year, but worst case scenario would be a tier jump is what I think would happen. I think the rates are going to stay fairly flat. We've got to get in front of the power curve with post-traumatic stress, please.
This PTSD substantial increase, is it exclusive to the fire districts or the industry general?
It's emergency responders, police are driving it, 911 is driving it, and fire. Here's my biggest concern for Oregon public is I think over the next year or two, you're going to see post-traumatic stress expand into other categories. Bus drivers, any public school teachers, school teachers, hospital workers, I think are next.
Yeah.
The word on the street is that they're projecting 800,000 hospital workers, nurses and docs are going to leave the profession in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Not good, not good.
So just, this was gonna be part of my report a little bit, but Jason Jancy from SDAO, that is all encompassing what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
From SDAO is working on the mental health. He's the mental health guy for SDAO. He's putting together that program right now. So he and I have been talking about that. And of course, the Oregon State Fire Marshal's not off, and he's helping the Oregon State Fire Marshal's office with their program because they're ramping it up. But I know it's very high on the radar of SDAO and the Oregon State Fire Marshal's office to get those programs available out there too. So
he's intimately involved with us. We were having a hard time getting SAFE to jump in, and what my company did was we bought several days from Struggle Well, and DPSST actually sponsored it. In the room, I think we had about 30 individuals, 4 of them were SAFE employees. They went back to SAFE and said, like, this is a life skill. Everybody should do this. And SAFE is actually working with Struggle Well to look at having them come in and do their program. DPSST was in the room. They're going to do the same. I think they're looking at having Struggle Well coach them. It is not just a fire issue, but it is primarily EMS and fire public service piece.
Will SAFE include other industries with the fire?
No, so it's just our class code. It's just our class code. And right now with what I'm seeing with the driving class code, which is called 7710, our paid firefighter class code, we have a number of claims, but it's not going up rapidly. And I'm not projecting it to go up in October very much. I think it'll be a very modest increase or a very modest change. SAFE is concerned about the unknown, and that's what we have to get them over the hurdle with. We're not having the problems that others are having, and we think that we have a good solution on the horizon. Please.
Yeah, Jeff, you mentioned part of the premium increase is because the payroll went up 4 million, so that makes sense. We're paying more because there's more. And I was just curious on the, probably a Mark question on the 4 million, is that the addition of the Sandy employees, the apprentices, and maybe what?
Sandy employees, apprentices, and the new hires under the levy.
Okay, so that makes sense. So we're paying more because we have more payroll. So, okay.
Yeah, so when you say on this, like this year's 1.2, some of it's in reserve, what's that mean?
Thank you for asking.
This year's claim.
So what happens when a claim is filed, and you told me not to do what I'm doing with your owl, so I apologize. I apologize to anybody watching. What happens when a claim occurs is by law in all 50 states, the claims adjuster has to file for the exact cost and projected future cost. That projected future cost is a reserve. So to make it easy, we blow a knee. They know mathematically that needs gonna be $50,000, $60,000. So they put that $50,000, $60,000 away, and I'm making these numbers up. And they spend 15, 20 on the surgery, and then the rest is in reserve. The important thing, and where my staff, Jennifer and Betty Berry, watch real closely, is a claim will be finished, the surgery will be done, we'll be back at work, but they're not watching it as closely. So they're not vested to take it down. Our job, and the date that's critical for you is December 31st. We have to get that reserve taken down and reduced to where it's the actual cost. And that's what brings our experience mod back down.
Okay.
I do want to really stress this. Your experience mod of 0.84 is unheard of. You're doing a phenomenal job in an expanding marketplace. That's a credit to the board, to our management staff, and our firefighters. You're not having the claims. The number of claims we have here at this district mathematically are extremely infrequent, very low. Pardon me? Yeah, and I can't sing her praises. I wish I could find some wood. Heather is doing a phenomenal job. She's connected with our people. She knows what she's doing. So what we see in the industry, 52 to 58% are sprains and strains, not happening here. So we're not having the knee blows, the shoulder injuries. The chief and I have talked before. We picked up several years ago that the number one cause of firefighter shoulder injuries was the Denver drill. You know, one of our training drills. So, you know, you make minor changes in how we do that single exit through the window, and that's saving shoulders. And those are critical. Those are very expensive claims. So you're not having the sprains and strains, you're not having the cuts and punctures, very few claims.
Good.
Marilyn, I love the proactive approach that you guys have taken.
Thank you.
And that OFCA has taken with this. I've seen firsthand WCPR and what they do for people. We've had people within this organization that have gone through the program and successfully retired because of it.
You're one of our success stories to safe. We have, I think, 3 or 4 right now, not very many. And what you have done, your proactive work is one of our success stories. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, love that you guys are doing that. That's how you help. So
Thank you.
What's going on. So good for you.
Well, and that program's awesome, but it's kind of after the fact. I know that Heather specifically at the conferences and stuff, people want her because there's so many organizations throughout the state that are either not doing anything or want to do better.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I know she gets phone calls probably daily from districts around the state trying to pick her brain. So
Prevention is the key, and Jay, you're absolutely spot on. So let me tell you, if I can just steal 2 more minutes. Prevention is where we really want to focus. That's phase 3, pre-hire, hire, and then the prevention piece. So I think it has 9 different steps in the prevention piece. Q&I is different. So after every call, you debrief to say, how did we do in our operations? Now we do a 360 with our firefighters. How are our firefighters? What they see? How are they doing? The pass down from shift A to shift B to shift C. Now we're doing an assessment of our firefighters. Little things, but important things to pick up. Monthly training, working with Heather, working with others to make sure that there's monthly information that's going out on that prevention. We have 3 individuals that are going to be doing some preventive pieces for us. There's a guy named Dr. Donnie Hutchins out of Florida, who does a big piece on what we call workplace balance. So there's, I think, 7 steps to being a little more balanced in your family life and your work life. The other 2 are Struggle Well, a guy named Goldberg, who's going to be doing some lectures. He's coming out with Northwest Leadership Seminar, but he's already committed to several meetings around the state, coaching people pre-claim. And then Tim Dietz has signed on. He's done accounting for us already up in Washington. He's going to be doing some half-day trainings, working with the county, really pushing the prevention piece. If we can avoid these claims, it's the best thing in the world for our firefighters, but it also helps save cost. And you've been awfully tolerant of me today.
You're awesome.
Marilyn, may I chime in for just a second? Just to tag into the prevention piece, for me as a firefighter, I think my experience with it is really a reprogramming piece of the expectation of what you have when you come into the career. When I got into the career as a firefighter, I was gonna get cancer, right? That's just one of the self-determination things that you kind of had as an expectation, right? We can do all the things, but that's just what's gonna happen. Years into the job, I realized that it's not necessarily predetermined that that's gonna occur, right? There's things that we can do to mitigate that and prevent those things or reduce the risk of those things. Such as when the presumptions went in place 2010.
2010.
And those things haven't necessarily materialized in terms of actual claims as were predicted. I think the same thing is occurring and has been is the shift of post-traumatic stress disorder going away as a label within the fire service. We're all going to experience stress or post-traumatic stress, but post-traumatic stress can be growth, and we can all be successful and healthy at the end of our careers. And just like we're putting mitigations in to reduce the risk of acquiring cancers throughout our career, the 5-step plan that OFCA is endorsing, that SDA is on board with, that WHA has been leading, Dave Pickard out in Crook County has been a big part of, is all part of that kind of reprogramming, not just of the actual content, but of the expectation of the employees and the people we're hiring.
And to double down on that, Brian, I agree with you. The other thing too, and I would encourage everybody in the room and online too, if you have an opportunity to attend any of those training sessions that are put on locally or regionally, I would recommend you attend them, because awareness of being able to see the people around you and what they're struggling with from a mental health standpoint is huge. And if you can help people, if you can intervene early with folks and either help them personally or direct them to the right thing, I think we can, if we watch out for each other better, not just in the fire service and our families and everything else, I think that we can do a lot along those ways. But I know that at the OFDA, that's one of the things that we talked about down there is just being open to being educated on what's going on out there, so that you can watch your friends and family behaviors. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. So,
We have our work cut out for us.
I just like to hear it. I know we've had Heather working on people's physical health. This is the other side of it. And it's just as important. Thanks for everything you're doing.
We have a great team. I want to thank you for letting us steal one of your key staff. Brian, thank you so much for your involvement. We have staffed up. We hired Dave Pickard, who is Health, Wellness, Fitness. You'll see a lot of him out of Central Oregon. He was on the Oregon Health, Wellness, Safety Board for many years. We brought in Les Holloman, who used to be a TVFNR. It took us a while to erase all of his past history and sins working over there on the wrong side of the tracks, but he's on board with us. And then we have a new hire that we'll announce in a week who came over from cities and counties. It's a big issue. It's an important issue for us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
No further questions or comments. Do I have a motion to the board to approve the purchase of workers' compensation policy issued by SAFE for the sum of $1,047,536?
so moved. Second.
Moving second, any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, shall we please follow roll?
Jim,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Marilyn.
Yeah. Thank you. And we needed to mark Whitaker to find the $19,000.
Already found it.
All right.
There you go.
There you go. He's worth his money. All right. B4, request board approval of Station 1 fencing project division chief applicant.
Madam President and board members, so I make a facilities and security request for Station 1 to enter for a fencing project, to enter into a contract with Town and Country Fence Company of Oregon for this installation of fencing at the Station 1 properties. Quick summary of the background. Unfortunately, we've had incidents over the last year, just since I've been here. Break-ins, fires, damage, trespassing, pretty much a little bit of everything, but nothing terrible yet. I think we've got some significant damage to some firefighter property. In any case, we're looking at fencing and to secure the property a little better than it is now, but also improve the aesthetics of the property also. The full road and the front facing fence portion will be a wrought iron type design that will look nice. And then the rest of the property will be fenced in chain link for security. So Michael Wong was instrumental in instituting the invitation to bid process. Everybody in facilities and myself were, frankly, we're just floored at the professionalism that Michael showed and managed that ITD process. It was really well done. I don't recall any challenges or anything, personally or on the phone. But no, it was really well done. I think what it did was make sure we checked the boxes on prevailing wages and other requirements for this type of project, and came up with a vendor that came within the estimated price, which that gap closes every month, it seems like. So we're at the position to request funding and award this contract to this vendor. Any specific questions you'd like to ask? Or?
Yeah, what about access for the public to the station?
So during business hours, we'll keep the main gate open. The full road gate, which will be a long sliding gate, pretty much will be the same driveway opening that we always have. Also be a man gate, a personnel gate at the front of the building that'll be open for sidewalk access. And as far as the station access goes, it'll be on the that'll be the east side of the station, the alleyway of that station, and that'll be able to come in and out through there. And at nighttime, the gate will close, and access will be from the east side gate. And we'll also have public and law enforcement access to the substation and the station.
What about the other fire stations?
We have a long list of needs. In all honesty, this was an opportunity with the urban renewal funds and the remaining funds in this zone to help beautify and increase the security and the response times with the new doors that we installed. Excuse me. So for those reasons, this station was asked for first.
Well, my only question that it's the contractor part of it coming out. His bid is significantly lower than the other two. We checked his background, experience, all that stuff, and he's confident he can do it for this.
To your first point, it's not unusual for us to see a big gap in the bids. I mean, the Gladstone project was $100,000 gap for a simple project. And there's another recent concrete thing that we did, there was a big gap in those bids also. So to answer your question, I'm not sure about exactly the background that was done. I know the facilities team were pleased with the choice and I worked with them before.
Okay.
Chris, if I may, you have contractors coming in, not needing to work and saying, you know, bidding,
Yeah.
hey, you want me, this is what it is.
We always have that.
So.
Their CCB record is fairly clean.
Yeah, no, I just don't, the only one, I just changed the spark plugs on Zocker, old man Zocker, who I'm sure is gone, because he was 20 years older than my dad, but I changed the spark plugs on his Buick a long time ago. So, okay, good.
Anybody else?
I did like how the bid was all put together. Sorry, go ahead.
And this is coming from the town center urban renewal funds, right? So it was that money that was supposed to be used in that area. So it's not coming out of the general fund.
Right,
Okay.
Okay, so, the tabulation bid shows Town and Country at 1.7 million, but his submission is 1.77, so which is.
I would double check with that, but I'll round up.
You rounded it down.
Exactly.
And that might make it even tougher.
Michael, what's your gut there?
Tabulation versus.
Yeah, in his submission, he said 1.77.
Right.
Page, under, packet page 41.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I may have had a typo on that tabulation page.
Okay, so you think it's 1.77? Is that, we're gonna approve an amount. It's
Yes.
gonna be correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what he.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, so, if there's no further discussion, do I hear a motion to authorize the fire chief to enter into a contract with Town and Country Fence Company of Oregon for fencing installation at Town Center Fire Station number 1 in the sum of $147,700.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, further discussion or questions? Hearing none, Shelley, please call the roll.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Hey, nice job doing this. Strong work. This is good.
Thank you.
Okay, B5, request board approval of cardiac monitor replacement.
Madam President, again, board members, this is again another one that is very optimistic with the funding. We were awarded a AFG grant for just over $1 million with a matching fund for that total to obtain new cardiac monitors. Without getting into weeds, I can just say that there was some errors on the grant on the FEMA side that were in our favor, and some numbers that needed to be clarified. In the end, after, again, with Michael Long's help, considerable help, and working with FEMA, we were able to make an amendment and submit that to FEMA. And if you remember, maybe, I think I mentioned this to the EMS subcommittee, I was worried that we were short quite a bit of money to replace our cardiac monitors. After the amendment request to FEMA, which was approved in 1 day, I've never even heard of that, so it's on our side. We were able to purchase everything we needed with the grant. In addition, we were able to add a Lucas device, which is an external cardiac compression device on top of the cardiac monitors. So in the end, we're asking for board approval to purchase 24 LifePak 15 cardiac monitors and 1 Lucas chest compression system for a total of $1,011,620.89. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So how does that FEMA funding work? Do we send them a bill? Do we have to pay the money first and get the reimbursement?
Very good money question.
Yeah, we purchase the items first, and then after that, we submit for reimbursement.
So do you know how long that takes? It's a lot of money to be out for $9 million.
Yeah, so we're going to make the purchase in next fiscal year, fiscal 24, and the reimbursement process can take further review. I would say it could take a couple months. Yeah.
Thank you.
What happens to all the old ones? Are we able to sell them at some point and get something back for them?
Correct. We were.
Still usable?
I'll answer those in order. So we had a few that are not usable anymore. They were from an earlier ULC grant. They have a little more miles on them than the others. We were able to get a 1-for-1 trade-in value, 1 Zoll for the 1 Striker model at a substantial, more than market price, just to get a good deal. So yes, we were able to get a favorable trade-in on all the equipment.
It shows a trade-in of 24 for $156,000.
Right. And we do have a few extras.
That's
we're
what
gonna
it's right on that.
And for the extra question, we do have a few extras that we're gonna look through and see what level of service they're at, so we can sell. Of course, we're gonna-
You would think, well, we're spending $10 million, so they could pay for the shit.
It's only 1 million, I think. It's only $1 million.
Yeah, million.
Free shipping with them.
They're only up in Redmond. It's like, it's a 1-day trip to drive up there and back, so it's not like it's a big deal about it. So
you volunteering?
Good. Right, I'll take Nick's Rick.
I have to admit that one favorable part of this grant was they allowed the maintenance plan, the communications connection plan, and the data storage and cloud retrieval case review plan for 5 years. So the prime life of these units, we're gonna save a considerable amount of maintenance money.
Anybody else? Anything else?
I think it's the way to go. Life Pack, the Life Pack is one of the primary components that our paramedics are using on just about every medical call they run on. So it's yeah, so I fully support. And we talked about this at our last EMS meeting that we had, the 3 of us, a couple months ago. And at the time, Rick had nailed down all of the details with the grant, you know, everything. That was still some hoops that you were jumping through, but we'd already talked about that. That was a great way to go. So,
And I must say that we are changing the type of unit we're using. So there was a considerable time and effort put into talking with the key stakeholders from the previous decision on using the Zoll monitor. And we did quite a bit of research before we made the decision. And to be honest, the tipping point was the interoperability with AMR and our surrounding utility partners. You know, just the connections. It's like having an Apple and Android phone, the connectors don't work. And this is a seamless transition of patient care. And also provides this. They all have a little bells and whistles that we like on each side. But that was the tipping point, is interoperability.
Does that mean it's gonna require significant retraining time?
There will be, anytime we change equipment, we've already baked in a month or 2 of training with the company. And that will start as soon as we finish the purchase plan. And Captain Golden's already looking at getting it in service hopefully by the fall at the earliest, and by the end of the year at the latest.
it won't be that big of a training because AMR has been using them for years. And so most of our people are going to be used to using AMR.
Anybody else? No. Okay, do I hear a motion for the board to approve the purchase of 24 Life Pack 15 cardiac monitors and 1 Lucas chest compression system for a total purchase price of $1,011,628.89.
So moved.
Second.
Moving and seconded, if there are any questions or comments? Hearing none, shall we please call the roll?
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. B6, request board approval of resolution 2306, resolution concurring with the amendment to Clackamas industrial area, urban renewal plan. CFO Whitaker.
Yes, so this is a request from Clackamas County and the Urban Renewal Agency, based on a request from us, to transfer $1.2 million in urban renewal funds from the town center urban renewal area, basically the Station 1 money we were just talking about that's contributed to the fence. The funds that are remaining from that, to transfer those over to the industrial area, urban renewal area, so that we can use them for improvements on our training center site. So the county has approved that plan, but as it is explained to me, under state law, they need concurrence from the other top taxpaying agencies in the area. And so that's what this resolution is requesting, is the concurrence to transfer those funds and add them to the industrial area, urban renewal area.
Okay, so I had trouble, but I had trouble understanding the sequence. So the planning commission had to approve it on the 12th, and then the PCC had to approve it on the 22nd, BCC. So those have all happened, because I couldn't find any minutes from the planning commission that said they okayed it. And
Yeah, I honestly do not know if they move forward. I know that they've requested that they have this from us in order to make it official. We did share with them that we could not approve it until our meeting on the 26th. And they seemed okay with that. So as far as I know, we're meeting their process. The actual resolution, as you see it, all of that language was given to me by the county to match what they needed for their process.
I mean, it wasn't even on the commission's agenda, so
Yeah, so they may have to delay it to accommodate us and the other taxi agencies, but I know they have agreed to moving forward on it.
So everybody else, any comment? Okay, then do I have a motion for the board to approve resolution 23-06 to concur on an amendment to the Clackamas Industrial Area Urban Renewal Plan, transferring $1.2 million to assist with renovations and on-site improvements at the Clackamas Fire District training facility.
I so move.
Second.
Then moved and seconded for the discussion or questions? Or-
Question.
Go ahead.
So after this, with the new fence money that we approved and with transferring this 1.2 million, is there anything left in the town center?
No.
Or is it all gonna be down there?
This is the remaining funds after we finish
Okay,
this,
makes sense.
the fencing
We
project.
have needs down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
When they talk about both the town center urban renewal and Clackamas industrial have ceased taxing increment, does that mean they're gonna stop or they're just not taxing right now?
They're not taxing right now. I believe their intent is to stop, but until all of the funds are expended, they cannot officially close the urban renewal area.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons they were kind of asking us to transfer these funds. If they want to close the town center one, they need all these funds expended, and we haven't been spending that balance.
Because the industrial area tip closed a long time ago, but part of that money built Station 8 and it built the original training center tower building long time ago. But I thought it was already closed a long time ago, but I guess they're able to open it up again?
No,
Right?
neither one of us closed. They are
Oh, even
open,
that's still open?
but they just
After all
are
these
not
years?
assessing any taxes.
Oh, okay.
Because we wanted them to close the town center one and give us back our $8 million. And they wouldn't do it because they didn't want to give us the $8 million. So we've been bleeding it out bit by bit, and this is the final bit. So
Maryland intended to get that 8 million one way or the other.
it's our $8 million. Dang, they're just like, our money, why are they keeping it? And then because they think they could spend it better, and it ended up we only got, like, we were owed 8 million, I think we only got 4 eventually, and they took the other 4, but at least we got some of it. So I'm sorry. Do I have a motion for the board to approve resolution? Did I already say that? Yes, it's been moved and seconded. There were additional questions. So anything further? Shelby, please call the roll.
Jay,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Marilyn.
Yes. Okay, thank you. B7, report request board delegation for IT services contract. AC Brian Stewart.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. We will be requesting the board of directors to delegate the authority of the fire chief to negotiate and execute a contract for IT services. The background on this is for a number of years, we've been using a managed service provider. Someone who provides, at least for us, partial IT services. We've been doing that for about 18 years. We've been using the same company, or I guess one of the companies that they had previously bought. But we go back to Obsidian and then something else, and then TIG, and now the company that we're working with is called Converge TP. We've been doing that for about 18 years. And this year, Oscar Hicks, our IT director, was looking at expanding that scope of services for a variety of reasons. We've changed our phone structure. We've added employees. We've been doing some other upgrades and changes in how we structure our infrastructure for ITs been established and maintained. This, over the last couple of years, we've had a couple other changes. We've had some individuals with needing time away from work. We had one individual leave the organization to go work for Clackamas County recently. And those absences have tremendously impacted our ability to ensure that IT services are provided in the manner that we need them to be. And so Oscar was looking at, as his plan has been, with Rashid's leaving, to continue to expand IT services through using a managed service provider rather than hiring back additional FTEs to fill that. given the additional bench strength, both depth and breadth that such services provide. But since we had been using the same organization or company for 18 years, I spoke with Oscar about the need to go out and do a competitive process for IT services. As he opened that up, he was working with 4 companies. And as we were discussing it about how things were going, it came across that one of the vendors had suggested that for not much more dollars, we could look at full IT services rather than the partial IT services that we had been quoting for or asking for bids for. With that, got an estimate about what that could be. Visited with the fire chief over where we wanted to lean. And for perspective, we spend about $850,000 just under that a year on both staff as well as managed services. Our estimates, and we've been engaged with those same 4 companies through a now full IT services, personal services competitive process, estimating that our final quote will be around $400,000 for the year. So somewhere between 350, 450 is about what we expend to be spending on professional services for full IT services. That seemed to be a pretty prudent savings. This year's a little slimmer because we have some existing services and some existing payroll that we have over the next 3 months. But future years, we're looking at 400, maybe a little more $1,000 in savings annually. So we're still working through that selection process. Part of that selection process, the panel has been myself, CFO Whitaker, Chief Mulick, as well as CTO Hicks. I commend him and his whole team who've been notified that we are looking at potentially going this direction. And they have been at work doing the best they can, make sure that we're protected, make sure that the rigs are in service. And Chief Hicks has taken on a lot of personal ownership, seeing that this is an evolution of where we need to be. Happy to answer any questions.
I would just like, we've talked about this a little bit, and I want to commend you guys for looking at this. One of the things that cripples organizations is what we've always done it like this itis. And while this is one of those that we need to be looking at, does this service need to be done? Yes. Do we need to be doing it? Maybe, maybe not. This looks like a maybe not. When we started with computers, there weren't managed service providers. They've come into being since then, so they're a resource that wasn't available. You had to do it yourself back then. Now we don't, and this looks like a substantial savings and takes care of the need we have. I like it.
Obviously, one of the concerns is our needs are gonna be met. And anytime you say we're gonna cut costs, or we're gonna cut the service delivery to our folks in the field that need their devices to work. So, I mean, hopefully you guys feel comfortable that service to our people is gonna be met. So, and then of course, all the stuff, software upgrades, hardware upgrades, all that when you have a printer that's not working, you actually get somebody to actually fix your printer and you don't have to wait until 3 weeks. You know, don't have to run into the main station and do all your printing for a week, for 3 weeks. So,
yeah, we've been working hard to be diligent in the scope of work and the interviews and the on-site visit with at least one company, follow-up conversations with 3 vendors. I visited with and a number of the members of the selection team met with another fire district that uses one of our vendors. I had to call into a fire district within Clackamas County that uses another vendor. I wait to hear back from them about their experiences. But with each of the vendors, they all have their service level agreements in terms of response times, how they're going to provide the service, what's the backup, who's the trickle down, what's the redundancy in case of Cascadia or other things, or COVID or some other impact. We've walked through a lot of scenarios to make sure that the rigs go out. But again, commending our current IT staff and Oscar for his vision of making sure that have units in the stations, and they're ready to go out with spare computers in each station or spare NBCs, making sure that at least the frontline rigs and can get out and provide service.
Well, I concur with both Jay and Chris to change. It's important that we try something, but the problem is IT is so crucial nowadays. And then, so it said back when, you know, it wasn't, but, you know, I suffer from the same problem. It doesn't work. Why is it not working? I want it to work now. And you know, why is IT taking 35 seconds to fix this? And but it was just a response time and making sure that everything is good. So I think we have to give it a try. However, no offense to Chief Brown, I'm not into open-ended authorization. So what do you think is a reasonable cap on how much this can cost?
So in this language is recommended by legal, because we had not been through the selection process completely. I think a reasonable cap at looking at an annual cost is probably
Just for this budget year. I
for
guess.
this budget year. I think a reasonable cap for managed service or for IT services is probably at the $500,000 mark. I think with that, and Jay and I spoke about this briefly the other day, is there is some expectation that depending on project work and how we construct the contract, and we're going to be looking for the terms that are most beneficial to the district. Some of that work what may be termed project work, may be rolled into a larger contract, whereas future work may be set aside and done differently. But because Director Cross, you mentioned upgrades. So
Just to kind of what Brian's talking about is, when I was my previous employer, I was putting together a proposal to outsource IT needs for my employer. And one of the common things that I saw back then, of course, that was a number of years ago, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, was that many of the companies had a reputation of these add-ons. It's like, well, that wasn't in the contract. If you want that to be done, it's going to be another $5,000. Or if you want that to be done, it's going to be another $20,000. And the next thing you know, they nickel and dime you so much that by the end of the day, it was easier to do. It was cheaper if you didn't outsource it. So that was the concern that I shared with Brian, is that make sure that we have an out that says, you know, if we start getting nickel and dime, we're going to dump you and go to somebody else, because that's just not the. But once again, that was 5 years ago. That was what was available. And at the end of the day, it didn't make me warm about outsourcing at the time, just because I didn't want to have to deal with, first of all, you have the cost, and then you have to have somebody that actually has to do it. So that takes personnel time to be able to figure out and go to the city council and say, I need more money, you know, and so it's just such a pain. That's what it was then. So that was my concern when I shared with Brian the other day, to make sure that we avoid that if possible. So, and to that, I don't think the annual ongoing cost is that high. Again, I think there's a range between $350 and $450 that we're sitting around. But one of the things that I think came up at the maybe it was the executive committee meeting, spoke to some of the disaster resilience pieces that Oscar has been working on, and that had not been implemented because of lack of funds. So that type of project work may get wrapped into a one-year agreement or multi-year agreement as part of that cost, or the core agreement may be a little smaller, and those other pieces need to be articulated elsewhere, but they would likely be with the same vendor.
So why did legal recommend an open-ended authorization?
So legal preferred having whatever more constraints than less within it. But given where we were at in the process, we have not selected a vendor yet. We do not have a length of initial contract terms, and we do not have an annual cost. And so legal, while they would have preferred to have had those, accepted the fact that we were not at a place where we could state those definitively, and didn't want to overreach.
And why are we doing it now? Why don't we wait until we know? If you have a vendor selected, just like we did for the fence. You know, you get a vendor selected, you know how much it's gonna cost.
Our next meeting is 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, so.
So, yes, good question. So I believe we'll have the vendor selected this week. And as you mentioned, Madam President, one of our biggest risks within the organization is IT services, in terms of our functionality, our ability to get rigs out and make sure that our bills are paid. So as we work through this process, we wanted to condense the timeframe from announcement of potential direction of the district for a variety of reasons, but making sure that our system continues to function is an important piece. We have individuals who have been notified that we may be headed this direction, and that they may not have employment after September 1st. I would expect, if it were me, that I would be looking for additional employment or future employment. And I don't know that those individuals will be here in 3 weeks or a month and a half to continue working. We do have a existing managed service provider that can maintain some of the pieces, but we are trying to condense the process to make sure that one of the most critical aspects of this organization continues to function.
Ready? Okay, do I hear a motion for the board to delegate authority to the fire chief to negotiate and execute a contract for IT services pursuant to the staff report?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, so moving and seconded, further comments or questions? Anybody? Shelby, please call the roll.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Mark will have to find your money. Okay, PA, request local contract review board approval of the special procurement for Darkhorse Emergency Corporation. AC Stewart.
All right, thank you again, Madam President. You have in front of you a request to, again, approve the special procurement for Darkhorse Emergency Data Analytics and Predictive Modeling Tool. The purpose of this is to support your next business item request to approve the contract to purchase such services. And we're asking for the local contract review board to look at and approve the special procurement based on what this tool is and does. We are looking at a tool that provides us data analytics and predictive modeling, which does the historical look at what we've done in terms of performance, as well as provides us the opportunity to look at early deployment. So whether it's people, apparatus, stations, this provides us a tool that allows us to model essentially in real time. You click, you drag the mouse, the thing updates with new response performance based on whatever standards we opt to put in there. This was a tool that in looking at it and reviewing other tools about what could help us with not just the deployment of 62 additional firefighters, but also looking at doing the station study and looking towards the future for the organization about where our stations are currently located, where growth is occurring. We had some options. We could look at different programs that are out there. We could look at doing services in-house, and we could look at contracting out services for doing a station study. This tool, in looking at it, and looking at Deccan and looking at Intera and looking at a number of other vendors, this is the tool that is packaged and provides aspects that work cohesively together, as well as provide what our current contracting GIS team thinks is highly valuable in terms of its interface with operations, interface with fire chief, interface with CORE and the communities and what it provides. And there was not another tool out there that we can identify, or another business out there that provides a tool that does the same activities. With that, I spoke with CFO Whitaker about the options that we had out there for procurement. Getting 3 bids doesn't make sense because there's no other product that we can identify with it. And so we felt that the special procurement process was most apt in this scenario.
Okay, what do you think?
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but what this does is we pass I know that I have asked over the years that we make decisions based on the data. What is the data that will say, and not make decisions based on emotion, tradition, and some of the other decisions that chief officers and policymakers make, and that we actually look at the data and we place our people, place our apparatus, and make decisions based on the data. And I think this is an effort, probably a very good effort of going at to give our chief officers the ability to have that data and then to present to the board as we allocate money towards what the needs of the fire district are. And I stopped short of saying operations because it sounds like this is more than just operations. This is station locations. This is
getting right into Maryland's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
This is getting into.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know if you want to expand on any more than that, Brian, but I think that's where we're headed with that. Is that right?
So in order to utilize the special procurement that you're requesting, how do you know there isn't anyone else who does a similar program? Not identical, of course, I'm sure it's proprietary, nobody's exactly the same, just like nobody's the same as Microsoft. But, you know, special procurement is an exception to the public bidding law. And there are good reasons why we have public bidding, and so I heard that you and the chief financial officer decided there wasn't any competition available, but I want to know what you did to determine that there was no other.
That's a great question, Madam President. We looked at, I looked at a number of vendors that were known in the industry from various conferences of attending, looking at and speaking with other individuals who had done station studies, what they had used. I spoke with an agency that had used another product and then an agency that used this product. Again, that doesn't provide any disparate scope of who may be out there. But I think purpose and intent of the special procurement piece is this allows you to approve the process, and there is a public notice after the fact or as part of this. So I believe it's 7 days, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, that we will publish that, hey, we have approved this, this is what this all does. If you feel that you have a product or a service that provides these same things, please contact us. And then I'm not sure the next steps, but I imagine there'd be a challenge piece or whatnot here. So I will say, I think I've gotten from conversations with various chiefs agencies and at, I guess, really trade shows or professional conferences, it's pretty good scope of what's out there. But there's always the potential for something to be there. And I think that's the intent of the public notice.
Well, and also my experience too is that there are, what do I call it? Applications that can do like response data and station location. They can do some personnel management. They can do whatever. They can do modularized pieces. It sounds like this is like several things in one application versus several applications.
It does a few pieces within their application. And in fact, we have a couple services from Intera, one of which, if this is approved, would come off the books. We would not renew that subscription, which is the analytics piece. And one of the benefits of using kind of the comprehensive package concept is as part of this tool, they do a lot of data wrangling, of bringing the resources together and make sure the data is clean, all those pieces. So the operability from one tool to the next is kind of seamless.
Working in the consulting world like I have been doing, there aren't a lot of programs like this, and this sounds like a good one. It sounds user friendly, and if you want to get the data, the reporting and the analysis in real time, normally it'll take someone else doing that. It takes a long time to get it back. So to me, it sounds like a good deal. We're not doing accreditation any longer, so we're not forcing ourselves every 5 years to do all of those analysis. So this sounds like a good tool to be able to do it on an ongoing basis.
Well, real time too also offers some bit of performance measures that if you are drifting in a certain area, you can encourage to drift back instead of waiting to the end of the year and then looking back, 9 months ago where you should have started. making a change. So that's what the real-time analytics help you do is look at your performance yesterday, which is certainly, well, somebody's got to be looking at it. So that's the part of it that, yes, analytics is great as long as somebody's actually analyzing it. So, but so if you plan on analyzing it on a daily or weekly, that's great. But if you don't plan on analyzing it every quarter, then how good is it? So, like everything else, it's only as good as the people that are using it. So, obviously, that's pushed by policy. And I don't think you guys would do this, but hopefully you wouldn't wait till the end of the year and then just look back and say, okay, what did the data say? Because we can do that with an Excel spreadsheet.
All right, anything further? Well, we have two issues on this. This is B8, which is solely to set this, authorize the special procurement process. It is not an adoption of the contract. So in order for this to occur, the board must sit as the local contract review board because we are not using the standard approach bidding the contract. And doing so, as the local contract review board, the board is required to make findings that it is an appropriate process to use because it is unlikely to encourage favoritism in the award of public contracts or to substantially diminish competition for public contracts, and is reasonably expected to result in a substantial cost savings to the contracting agent or the public, or otherwise substantially promotes the public interest in a manner that could not practically be realized by complying with public bidding laws. So I believe staff has indicated in their report that they find that it's unlikely to encourage favoritism, and as Chief Stewart said, it can't diminish competition because they don't believe there is any competition for this product, and that it promotes the public interest. And those two tests for the board to sit as a contract review board and to approve this procurement, which is S2023-002, would be appropriate. So based upon that long lead-in, do I have a motion for the board sitting as the local contract review board to approve a special procurement process S2023-002 for Darkhorse Emergency Data Analytics and Predictive Modeling Tool, solely the process?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion.
Yeah, I have a question. If there is a challenge to this, then do we just go to RFP? Is that how it works? And then if only one person.
I love that. Bam, bam.
And then if one person, and then we go around and then this person's the only person that puts in a proposal, then we go with them. Is that how it works?
That would probably be the way we would go. If we get a challenge, then we would know that there's supposedly at least more than one vendor out there that can offer those. And
so then you would put together an RFP and then we have to go through the whole thing like you did with the fence.
yeah, and we would review them and ensure that they are able to offer exactly what we need. And, we would score them as well.
So we're making so what we're doing then is we're saying we don't believe that's going to happen.
Yes.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, questions answered, so shall we please call the roll?
Jim,
Yes.
Marilyn.
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Okay, so B9 now is a request for the board approval of the contract for services with Darkhorse Emergency Corporation.
Again, thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I think we had a brief introduction to what the tool actually does and what the benefits that would provide the fire district would be. The contract that's presented to you in terms of pricing and length of the contract was negotiated with the vendor over a period of time, working to find what works well for us as well as works within their constraints. And so the process and the price that you have in front of you is I think a fair price. We're comfortable with it. I think they're okay with it. But they've done well.
Any further questions? Okay, my problem with this is I don't do business in Canada and they don't do business here. They're not qualified to do business here and I'm not going to Canada for disputes over this contract. So buy American. Sorry. I'm serious. I said,
Well played,
they're not
Marilyn.
qualified to do business in this state and they are Canadian companies. The contract specifically says Canadian law will apply, actually Alberta law will apply. And all discussions and disputes will be heard in Canada. So I ain't going to Canada. I mean, gotta find somebody who can do this. That's just me. You got 4 other people.
It's a fair statement. I'll go to Canada for you.
Yeah.
That's
I know,
fine.
I know Versaterm, which is what OX Cat is.
But they're probably qualified to do business here, which these guys aren't. They could be, but they aren't. So, okay, everybody else can.
Just shows the technology and where it's at, and that this is kind of groundbreaking here a little bit. And that's why you really only probably have 2 other agencies in the United States of America that I know of that utilize this technology. So that's groundbreaking here.
Well, so if this passes, then minimum, tell me to get themselves qualified.
Yes, ma'am. I'll make sure of that. I think that's their push.
All right, do I hear a motion for the board to approve the contract for Darkhorse Emergency Data Analytics, and predictive modeling tool for the sum of $315,319?
Yes.
Right?
So like the term, so move.
I second that.
Yes, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Yeah.
I guess the question of dealing with the Canadian business, is it okay? I guess, I mean, it brings up a good, are we okay with that? Is that not a problem? I mean, they supported us on D-Day and they're a good ally, so I guess I'm in Canada. Business with them.
This is where the 911 service came through. Is that rhetorical question? One answer.
Yes, we're good.
That was
Good. We're good.
No further question?
That was.
Okay,
that was
it's been moved
well
and
done.
seconded. Shelby, please call the roll.
Marilyn,
No.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
All right, thank you. B10, request board approval to certify the election results for the 3 directors to Clackamas Fire District Board, both to Clackamas and to Multnomah counties.
I'm trying to get composure here after this for D-Day. That was-
You are even alive.
My only question, are any of these 3 Canadian?
One more Indian. I did not come through Canada.
Madam President, members of the board, I've written a staff report under item B10 that will encompass both B10 and B11. That have the attached results from Multnomah County as well as Clackamas County. The request to you today is to approve and certify the election results for the 3 directors for Clackamas Fire District 1, for the Multnomah and Clackamas County results.
Okay, thank you, Chief Brown. This is a statutory requirement, and the board needs to certify to both county clerks 2 things. One, that the 3 of us have been elected, and 2, that we're qualified to hold those offices. So, either.
Is that levy comes in with the same or?
That'll be on the second, I'll be on the next one.
That's B11, we go that one, because they're really 2 different people. So, if everyone's okay with that, I would, it's not a resolution, it's just a certification but I think we could go ahead and vote on it. Does the board vote to certify the election results, the election of Thomas Joseph, James Deering, and Marilyn Wall to Clackamas Fire District Board and certify that they are qualified to hold those positions?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by the disinterested board members. So Shelby, would you call the roll, please?
Chris,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. B11, request approval of resolution 23-07, certifying the results of the Emergency Services Levy for the May 16, 2023 election. Chief Brown.
Thank you so much. And as spoke about on B10, we recommend that the board, staff recommends that the board accepts, affirm the election results from the Clackamas County and Multnomah County election results per ORS 255.295 subsection 1 by adopting resolution 23-07, certifying the results.
Okay, any questions for the chief? Okay, hearing none, seeing no hands. Again, it's not a resolution, but I think we should take a vote that certifies the results from the Emergency Services Levy for May 16, 2023 election as having passed in both counties.
But it is a resolution. Resolution.
Well, that one
23-01.
is, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's a resolution.
Okay,
Sorry, 23-07.
I got confused, you're right.
I'm sorry.
No, my fault. Okay, so I'm gonna restate that, wipe that out. Request approval of resolution 2307, certifying the results from the Emergency Services Levy for May 16, 2023 election in both counties.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, Shelby, please call the roll.
Chris,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yes.
Okay. Other business. OB1, board, committee, and liaison reports. Executive committee, Vice President Sewing and I have met with Chief Brown, Chief Stewart, and Hopkins on June 13th, 2023, and discussed some of the strategic business plan, the status of the plan and where we're going with it and when it will be presented, which is its normal course, usually around September. We also had a discussion regarding these IT services, the need for the change and the justification for it. There are some open agenda items about the advertisement that we are now posted for a new human resource position. Okay, all right, so that was it for the executive committee. Any questions?
Do we have a response for that? I saw the ad in the LinkedIn and other places.
For the HRO? I don't know the exact number. Do you know how
Do
many?
we have any
applicants are?
scheme?
As of Thursday was 15. I haven't checked.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
19 today.
19.
So how many positions are we looking for? You got 19.
The destination.
Really? Be a candidate.
Whatever works.
All right, thank you. Interagency committee.
We had an open house in Gladstone on June 21st. I was so blown away how many. That was a complete flow. It was almost like a festival. People came with their kids and all, amazing. I did not expect that kind of response. I asked the city manager, how did she advertise? They must have done, but the social media is mostly, to give you an example, the social media impact. Isaac and Shelby, they are doing the social media. No?
No.
Who's doing that?
Tracy Grisham.
Tracy. I even had one of the gentlemen told me he now works in Sherwood, lives in Fairview. He went to Fairview and picked up his son again. It was that impressive how people are responding to the social media. So good job done by the whole team.
Yeah, it was on their webpage and then they have it on their city calendar so that it keeps coming up as a reminder.
Unfortunately, Jim had a conflict, so last minute I asked Chris and he bailed us out. Came and made his presence, charming personality, and everybody was happy campers.
RTDA, Director Cross.
Yeah, it's been an interesting month with DDA. So first of all, we pretty much got the conference, the Oregon Fire Service Conference pretty much finished and ready to go. You can see it in your communique too, of being able to get signed up for that. So we'll probably be sending you requests for lodging and stuff over there at Seaside, the conferences in Seaside. They've done a really good job this year. Putting a conference together. It's going to be a good one. And Isaac's going to be there doing a little PI. It's the first time the Oregon Fire Service Conference has done a PIO social media. I don't know. He's got an hour and a half block to fill with whatever he got. So his first trip over there to OFDDA, looking forward to having he and his family or whoever you bring over there to present to us. So that's going to be good. That's the other thing that I've been volunteered to do is be the representative to OSHA for OFDDA. And so I went to DPSST last month and I spent a few hours at a rulemaking meeting. So just, I won't get into it real deep. I called and talked to Brian the other day and kind of debriefed him of what was going on with OSHA, but specifically, as everybody probably aware, but there's two big things on the table right now that potentially could affect Clackamas Fire, but if not directly Clackamas Fire, some of our fire districts around us that could eventually affect us because it affects our fire district around us. This first one is the non-entry firefighter. There's a DPSS, there's a senator, they passed a law, passed a thing here last year on the law or whatever it is, for DPSST to put together a certification program for non-entry firefighters. So firefighters could get certified as firefighters, but not be able to enter the IDLH or the immediately dangerous to life and health environment, which the idea of it is that for firefighters, for agencies in the state that do not have the resources to provide respiratory protection and respiratory protection training and the services that go along with that, they could still be certified as firefighters. And so that law passed. Well, now OSHA is making the rules on that. What OSHA has done is because of, what they say is lack of stakeholders to be able to participate in the rulemaking, they requested us from OFDDA to solicit people that were willing to do that, to participate in the rulemaking. So I solicited several of the fire chiefs around the state of the smaller fire districts. And I think we do have now, we have adequate representation of about 15 chief officers and administrators from various smaller districts around the state that will be impacted by this rulemaking. So I think that's a good part of it. Also, I wanted to bring up Chief Aders, Jim Aders' name on this because he has been for the Oregon Fire Chiefs Association and the Oregon Volunteer Firefighters Association. He is representing that group there. He's doing some strong work with that. So there's a lot of people involved in this to make sure that as we do the OSHA rulemaking, that OSHA makes these rulemaking with obviously the appropriate stakeholders in the world. Jason, I spent quite a bit of time talking to Jason Jancy about this, and Jason Jancy is representing SDAO on this. And so we had some concerns when we came out after the meeting. We had some concerns about some of the things. So I've been working with Jason Jancy and Chief Ader on this kind of offline, or once again, I briefed Brian on all of that happened. So for the chief officers in the room, if you want to know any more of the details, you can talk to Brian about that. I don't think it's going to have a direct impact on Clackamas, but once again, I think it will have a potentially impact on our neighbors. Now that takes me into the second thing of rulemaking. There's a new law on the books that allows for an employee that if they deem an environment or an area unsafe, they're not required to do that scope of work, whatever it is. Now, that scope of work is, it excludes firefighters. So a firefighter can't say, when the building's on fire, I'm not gonna go near it, I'm not gonna come right there. It excludes them. But it does not exclude people that we might deem essential services, i.e. the power company, the electric company, maybe a security company, something like that. Obviously, police officers, that they wouldn't deem that. But after the meeting, I was sitting with Jason Jansen and the head of the rulemaking for OSHA, and I brought up some topics to the person that's going to be in charge of the rulemaking for that stuff. And I brought up some topics to him, and he said they never thought of those things. And specifically human behavior, of what happens if you have a person that is, for instance, throwing feces at you. Is that considered to be a dangerous environment? And those kind of things, or maybe they're threatening you with a needle or some other kind of human behavior that's not consistent with that a normal worker would go into, like a PGE employee or something like that. So they hadn't thought any of that. So that being said, I got myself wrangled into that as well, of helping the rulemaking with that. Jason Jancy obviously has a huge thing when it comes to dealing with rulemaking when it comes to that. Now, that being said, I don't know if this will have an impact on Clackamas Fire moving forward, but as you can see, there is a potential for people responding to our emergencies coming across something that they say, too dangerous for me, I'm not going to do it. So once again, I don't know how that's going to play out, but I did want to know, obviously I'm not going to, as the OFDDA, I'm not representing necessarily Clackamas Fire. I'm not representing OFDDA when I go to these meetings, but I am trying to keep Brian in the loop on what's going on. And of course, Chief Ader is representing Oregon Fire Chiefs Association, Oregon Public Firefighters Association. So that's our chief officer group. So I tell that to the chief officers that are in this room, that if that's something that you want to either participate in or be briefed on, I can certainly do that moving forward on this, on these challenges. So that's all I really have for OFDDA. But any questions about any of that? Any of you guys, any questions at all? So, as you can imagine, it was a little bit an interesting day down there at DPSS too that way.
Questions?
Yeah.
Thank you. Director Sharon, Vice President of Training, Volunteer Association.
No specific meetings to report on because the quarterly meeting will normally be in July next month, but just a couple items to note. First of all, I spoke with Jerry earlier today for an update. The Volunteer Association recently had elections, so there's a new board. Jerry will report on that, new officers. And secondly, pardon?
I grabbed the wrong photo, maybe you didn't know.
And secondly, this Thursday, I think we all got the invitation for the graduation at the training center. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make it. I'm hoping that someone will be able to make it Thursday. If any of you have that evening open, but I'm in Washington State, so I won't be able to make it, but just wanted to mention those two items.
Okay. Questions with you? Okay, thank you. Does any board member have informational updates or comments they'd like to share? Go ahead.
Chris and I will be judging the Sandy Mountain Days Parade in a couple weeks. So thank you, Phil, for helping. We heard that Steve, as a resident of Sandy, entered a float. We promise we won't be biased on that entry, so.
Two floats.
Uh-oh.
One's American.
Damn.
One's American, one's Canadian.
She didn't hear you.
One's Canadian, one's American.
Oh. Careful with the line.
My wife is Canadian. So, sorry.
Marilyn, real quickly, Phil, what time does the parade start? And then there's
7 o'clock next Thursday.
7 o'clock till 7:25 is typically the parade, and then an open house.
Yep.
At Sandy, directly after.
I can just leave now. That was really part of-
Well, that's counting as my informational update, by the way. So,
And Grand Marshal.
thank you.
About a few seconds. I am so super impressed with the apprentice program. I cannot tell you the diversity and the quality of the people that I saw. I'm just blown away. When you when we were interviewing you, you talked about going next level to the diversity. And you have done it. Great job, the whole team. I am super impressed. The future of Clackamas Fire. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, informational report, divisional report. Was that it?
Well, I've got one more small thing. I'm trying to
Okay.
figure out something else I can steal away from Peter so
Office
that
of
you
the
can't.
Fire Chief.
I actually do. Thank you so much, Marilyn. With the official passing of the fire district levy, we've been out thanking the community, writing community letters to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, is what we broke it up into categories during the levy process, thanking them and having plans moving forward as far as the year 1 implementation and notifying them and just getting out ahead of implementation of the levy, just letting the community know how grateful we are to them and what's coming next.
And on that too, just to let you know, I've had probably around 10 or 12 people from the community, whatever I'm doing, just come up to me that I didn't even know, and I didn't really know that I was associated with Clackamas Fire, and came up and said, hey, I want you to know I voted yes on that, I'm glad to see it passed. And then we had that little conversation about, how they're glad and they support the fire department and stuff. So I thought that was very cool, just unsolicited people coming up saying, I voted for that and do strong work. So.
Nick, we saw when the bond passed in Clackamas Community College,
Yes,
they kept the community updated
yes,
periodically.
yes.
I think it's extremely important for us to have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what we've done so far is we waited for the official results on the 13th. 12th, yep, thanks. Sent the letter out the 13th, and posted it all over our social media, thanking the community, letting them know where we're at. Part of this is also that transparency with you as a board. So transparency with you as a board as well as the community, it's going to be kind of a simultaneous thing. We've interviewed the firefighter list and extended 24 job offers with 3 alternates. And so we're starting that implementation for year 1 with 2 academies, September, February.
Yeah.
And February, and we've already sent out the conditional job offers and gotten them returned. Now they're going through the retesting cycle. And so, yeah, I think you're spot on, Thomas. You will probably see once that September academy hits, an update to you as a board, as well as an update to the community, as well as what phase 1, phase 2 looks like.
Is that going to be are we doing a mailing or is it going to social media? How is it going?
What we've broken it into is 3 tiers. Tier 1 is elected officials, city managers, business alliances, and the Rotaries, which Rotaries, every single one of them has told me that they will not send the thank you letter forward. Which is, yeah, they deem it as political. So, but
We don't go to Chamber of Commerce too.
they went to the chamber and it got submitted everywhere. So those are the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 get into school boards, into neighborhood associations, things of that nature. So, and then tier 3 is those people that don't have active emails, they get a direct mail. But when we did tier 3, most of them, we got returned from sender. So
I'm super impressed with the Twitter and our social media impact.
it's been big.
I could not believe.
But Thelma, Thelma got a letter and she's sending it out there. So we've hit all of those individuals within our community that have access to hitting the most people that we possibly can. When I say hitting, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with Thomas, educating the community as we're going along, as things are building. Adding 4-person staffing is not something that anyone in the community would really notice, even though it's important. But opening station 12 or 13, those are going to be huge at whatever point and along the timeline those come. We really make a big deal there. For sure, those communities really involved, we could really go and put an extra effort out, in my opinion, for those two, because those are very significant.
We could even recommend an open house that session to event the team.
Yeah, we've even talked about, big banners
Yeah.
posted in the front,
Correct.
opening this date. We've got a good game plan going that
Yeah.
you'll start to see being implemented here in September.
Well, we also got this new Canadian software with all these analytics that we can put out there too, to show people what our performance. Show you a picture of the
I
fence.
think that Captain Franklin is speaking at the Oak Grove Community Council.
Perfect. Good.
This one.
Love it. Love it. So, with that, I was gonna jump into a couple other things, but I think I've said my piece, so we're good. Thank you. Yes. Awesome.
Were we gonna hear a Sandy updates from someone?
That would be this guy right here.
Oh, okay.
I'll leave it up to you. Okay, well, yeah, you know what? I'll give the Sandy update.
I just wanted to make sure.
No, we don't want to, Steve wants to say something.
Okay, well, it's not Steve's turn, it's Brian's turn. Assistant Chief Stewart will now give an update from the Office of Strategic Services.
Yeah, thank you. I think we've said a few things that have been going on in the section. And Chief Huffman touched on facilities. I think there's also some concrete work going on over at the training center behind there and some other pieces we're working on. Also looking at the old logistics building and the office space there, just trying to look at consolidating some services there. So we're gonna go back and do a month study on that, see if we can get that back up to office space standards. A couple other things just to touch on. When Jeff spoke to it earlier about the mental health piece of the firefighter side of things, OSFM has been a great supporter of it, and Chief Reese Temple is fantastic supporter of making sure that our fire service personnel are well cared for and have healthy careers. They're in the process of hiring some that they had hoped to have had hired maybe the start of the year, but they're in the process of hiring a specialist to work as a staffer on firefighter mental health. Hopefully they'll be on board here in the next month. We've got a long list of stuff for them to work on. There are 3 bills that have been passed and signed related to fire-related things. Now that the session has closed, looking at Senate Bill 82, which speaks to insurance premiums and cancellations. Started off as a piece, whether or not insurers could use the wildfire risk map. That's changed a number of times. But now there are some provisions in there that more clearly articulate to the public how their insurance can be rated and canceled for reasons other than non-payment. Senate Bill 1068 affects areas that are within 7 miles of a fire station. Those can now be annexed by an existing district. There are some provisions in there if they're within another district's territory, but that is there. That'll be something to look at. And then work after retirement has been passed and signed. So there is now work for PERS members within the fire service and will, I believe, for up to 10 years through 2034. And then the last piece, really kudos to Carrie Shanklin and all community services staff. Captain Bowen and his team over at Station 22. Great turnout for the open house on Wednesday last week. I don't know how many people were there. We didn't count them, but that station was filled from 4 to 6 p.m. I think it's a few times had by. I'll appreciate the directors that were able to make it by. I know the community appreciated it, and the elected officials from Gladstone had a chance to see how their dollars were invested in the remodel. That's all I have to report.
Question, for the Chief? Seeing none. R1C, Office of Business Services, Assistant Chief Stewart.
Thank you, President, members of the board. As the chief covered most of my stuff, but I will focus on a couple of things. We were able to do, with the help of HR and benefits and wellness, to onboard the Sandy staff over a 2-week period. Didn't incur any overtime charges or anything like that. We had to spread it out a little bit, provide a move up company. So we all worked together and got it done. So that's all been done. And Ryan Crowgrove did the volunteers, I believe, just this past week. So everybody's been onboarded. Looks like everything's starting to come together. We're kind of cramming some things over the last couple of weeks, but there's testing going on right now, some of the communications and the computers and things like that. making sure that on Saturday morning, that door opens and the rig can go. And everything's pointing to it's gonna happen, and these guys are gonna be gone on Saturday. I'll be there, but they conveniently are gonna be unavailable. I think that's on purpose, but we work really well together and just kind of working through some of the quirks. Sonotrol's installed out there now, so everybody's ID will work, getting into the building. The door codes will change at kind of the very last minute, so that they can still have access, and then we'll work with, there's a community group we have to work with out there. All that, the engines have been, and the apparatus have been restickered. They look fantastic. They look good. The rescue is all done and ready to go, and it's been kind of pulling in and out of there and looks good out there. And there is, as Director Searing mentioned, there's the parade on the 6th. And you guys are the judges, and then these two are the grand marshals, so we'll have a presence in there, and Ryan is coordinating the parade lineup for them, and then community services will be out there for the open house, and they have 6 sheet cakes to cut up and give away, so we'll be handing out cake. So that'll be a plus. And other than that, we're just kind of plugging away, making sure that it's gonna go good. And Captain Cooper's been out there and just kind of rearranging, making things happen, having lots of questions, that kind of stuff. Nanette will stay in the front office for 90 days while we close out the year end out there, up to 90 days. And Margaret, who is in the front office there now, she's gonna stay while Nanette's taking vacation as of the first, which is also great. I think they all plotted against me to be all gone, but we'll make it. And then Margaret will be moving to the fire marshal's office, and then for training and all that. And then at about the 30 to 45 day mark, she's gonna come back and FMO office, the assistant for the AT out of FMO. Since the FMO office is not open to the public anymore, she will work out of there, so we'll have presence there every day.
Where's that go?
We haven't determined yet. She's there for 90 days. We're still working on a plan for her, so something meaningful for her to do. But right now, she's super valuable to stay there and help us close out.
I worked with Annette over the years, and she's awesome.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So we're just kind of working through that. We've placed Rachel, who's gonna go to logistics, and Margaret, who's gonna be FMO. And with today's technology and Zoom and all of that, it should be absolutely kind of flawless to have her doing the FMO out of there. It's sort of like Peggy, she did the volunteers, what was it? Estacade, and it's kind of some semi-remotely, but working with that. So that'll, the main thing for us is to provide a presence that they're used to out there, and she's fantastic for it. So other than that, just kind of working through that.
So does the new 2-person apparatus start on Saturday then? And it's 12-hour days, 7 days a week. So that will probably change the response dynamic right out of the chute. I guess, Dan, you're probably figuring that out, because do they go and take first aids, or does the engine, or how does all that work? Probably.
Yeah, I can run through that real quick. Like, I think it's a key component to the service delivery out there. So we have an AO and an officer on that rig, and so the primary response rig is a rescue, and they also have a type 6 brush unit, and then they have a water tender. So why we put the AO and the officer out there is a diversity and response that they're gonna have. Primarily, they're gonna be running out of the rescue, being first out for medical calls. And we're gonna start as an identical rescue model that we have with our rescue 3 and our rescue 16. It's just a primary out on medicals. And then we're gonna watch how that it's in the rural setting a little more. So we're gonna watch how we can kind of broaden that out. The whole point is leaving the engine in service for the critical calls. So when those critical calls come in, we have 5 during the daytime that can roll out of that. We have a water tender that can get out. We also have a reserve water tender there for the volunteers to respond out of. So during the 12 hours, the paid staff would be able to roll out on that. Volunteers can take the second out, or in the evening hours, the volunteers can take the 2. So Captain Cooper is gonna kind of help keep us accountable to that service delivery plan and make adjustments as we go on. But right now, we're gonna have 4 rigs out of that station that can get out the door at any given point. So it'll be good.
Any other questions?
Good job.
Okay. R1D, Office of Financial Services, CFO Whitaker.
Just two additional quick things for me. So first, just draw your attention to page 143 of the packet, which is a letter sent by the Oregon City Renewal Commission. And so they have decided to not levy a tax increment rate for 2023-24 and only levy 25% of it for 2024-25. So that tax increment that would have gone to the urban renewal agencies will instead revert back to the cities, counties, and special districts that would have received it. And so what that means for Clackamas Fire is about $500,000 in additional funds in the fiscal year that starts next week, and roughly $375,000 in the following year. So those are one-time funds. The district, the urban renewal area hasn't fully committed to not coming back 2 years from now and starting to collect that tax increment again. So we'll just have to monitor how that goes. But it is some one-time funds that will help the budget and probably capital outlay over the next 2 fiscal years. And then the only other thing I just wanted to recognize, and Chief Huffman already did, but we have Finance Manager Michael Wong here tonight. As you saw on the agenda, there were a lot of procurement items. I just want to commend Michael on taking the lead across the district on all of these procurements and grant items. He's instrumental in navigating all the different rules and regulations around purchasing and grants, and working with FEMA and Oregon buys and all those things. So yeah, just wanted to recognize him. He usually gets out of these meetings, but he had to do this one.
Thank you, Michael.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Okay, R1E, Office of Emergency Services, Division Chief Mueller.
All right, well, thank you very much. I know this is a long meeting, but there's a lot that has happened. So May, you can see in the board report, I put a fraction of our notable calls in here, but it was a significant fire month in May. A little timely with May 16th, passing of a successful levy. A little timely with a 2-alarm brush fire right next door to Station 12. We had a 2-alarm on May 27th on the same day. Just previously at Station just out of Tens. We had a 2-alarm house fire in Damascus, which is rare for us to go to multiple alarms on a residential fire, but it was heat related, hot day, crews have been taxed, defensive operation, construction challenges, water supply challenges, all that. So we've had some fires burn extremely hot. We had a well-involved fire in Happy Valley that Station 6 was burst to that it was, I believe, 5 or 6 in the morning. And the amount of heat and BTUs out of that absolutely annihilated the structure. Multiple cars involved. It's been an impressive month. With that, June 1st, we had a 20-acre fire out in Beaver Creek that was just off of Fellows Road in South County. That was a 56-hour incident for us. That was a type 4 incident where we had mutual aid from Sandy, Colton, Canby, Malala, Estacada, all the units from District 1. We activated the EOC. We had CCOM, Clackamas County Emergency Management. We had a great partnership with ODF. We had a type 2 ship doing helicopter drops and the evening during initial attack, and brought in on the second day as well. We had it's been busy, and that was just June 1st. Just the other day, we had a apartment fire, Point West Apartments, that is the back door to Station 1. It can pretty much connects to our property on the third house that we have. It was an early morning at first light, and upon arrival, there were people upon the size up of the first officer. There were people jumping out windows out of the 3rd floor. So the Captain Goodrich was working a shift in Engine 1, and his arrival as he was sizing it up on the air, he said, and the victim just dropped, and a second victim just dropped from the 3rd floor. We managed to run that entire incident with the first alarm, with 2 patients on the ground, multiple units involved, staircase access involved. quick ventilation and knockdown, and the VC Cordy was incident commander on that, and just commended the crews of the work and the partnership with AMR that grabbed the patients, and CCSO was there helping out. One of those incidents that you get in your career, and it was the icing on the cake for a crazy May, and it just continues. So there's just a lot going on. I want to throw just one addition to this is that we had, I believe Chief Stewart has brought it up as well, but we have a drone now that we use in the district. It's a military grade drone that can do IR. And we've flown the drone on the majority of our fires. We've had a pilot come out internally. We are able to go over that 20-acre fire off of Fellows Road. We had ODF with us the next morning as we were passing command to them. And we did an IR flight with them to look at all the hot spots to see where the fire advanced during the nighttime. We're able just to literally take the drive and hook it into their phone and transfer all the data over and as we clear the incident. We flew it over the Point West apartments beyond Station 1, flew it over multiple brush fires, and it's been an absolutely tremendous tool and teaching tool and AR tool that we've used in the district. So it's been pretty busy. Lastly, just business today is Jeff Knapp, Lieutenant Jeff Knapp's last day. 3 p.m. today, we had a retirement gathering forum at Station 19. I believe, Chief, 28 years.
28 years with the fire district, 32 years fire service career.
Yeah, I believe the local will probably mention it as well, but it was really good to see our people retire healthy and happy. Yeah, it was a pleasure to be there. Yeah, got an end report on operations, and Chief Huffman, I'll turn it over to you to add a couple things.
Madam President and board members, just quickly for EMS, as Chief Felix said, it's been really busy. Some of the things that have come to a head, the ambulance service area contract went to BCC and was approved to move forward, which means that they're going to just look at implementation phases and final tweaks to some of the addendums, and they'll go back to the county. But we're moving forward with that contract amendment, and I believe it's going to really help. We've heard a few times trying to keep our heavy assets in service for critical emergencies, and this plan for the ambulance company supports that. So more to come on that as we get that moved forward. Another major happening was the ARPA funding was brought to the BCC as a last minute consideration before they used any unspent or unencumbered funding. So in about 1.5 years ago, the community paramedics program requested $1.5 million to support the community paramedic program in cooperation with the county EMS office to serve all the health district zones. After a lengthy discussion with the board members, they came up with an award amount afterwards, and we've received just over $1 million to support community paramedicine and the 4 pillars of that program, which for the district, an important one is to make sure heavy assets are in service and to provide the community with the care they need. There's a lot of different ways of doing that, and there'll be more information to come as we get that proposal going. Performance period is for the next 2 years, 2.5 years. So we've got time to adapt that original request to time gap and the funding decrease. So we'll come back to you with more on that. Those are the 2 biggest things. Yeah.
I just have one more go back on that. We have, I'm not sure if it was mentioned in this meeting yet, but we have our promotional swearing in on Wednesday at 5 p.m. at Camp Ripcombe. We have dozens of promotions to swear in, so.
And that's the swearing in of Sandy. Also,
Yep, Sandy as well.
Career and volunteer.
Yes. Did you, it's on your calendar, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna tie it up. I'll be chairing a different board meeting at that very moment in time, so I'll miss that one, but I'll.
Chief Snyder will forgive you.
I'll see you for the volunteers the next night.
Thanks.
Okay. R1F, are the firefighters with us?
Andrew, go for it, please.
Oh, he's on duty this evening, but he said he looks forward to seeing you all in July.
He missed us last month.
Yes, he did.
We're beginning to feel shunned. I'll let him know. Maybe he's got a Canada.
I had coffee with him, so, yeah, you know, I
In
got.
Canada?
No, no, in Canada.
Yeah,
It's Happy Valley, it's kind of the same thing.
I'll go to Canada for coffee.
All right.
And who's that?
There we go. R1G, Voluntary Association report, gentlemen.
Madam President, members of the board, thank you. I'll try and be briefer than normal. So Station 12, we hit 12 nights out of 31, 13, we hit 1. Station 21, we had a total of 18 nights covered between people on staff there and then at-home response. For drills, we had Hazmat 307 come out and do a hazmat refresher for the volunteers. BC McCullough did a brief initial report and size up drill that I thought was super useful, covered everything from motor vehicle accidents to wildland events and structure fires. And then on the 17th, Sandy's crew did EMS while we had our award ceremony in May. The boat crew came out on the 24th and gave us a water rescue refresher just because we're gonna be taking on additional waterways and stuff like that. That'd be great if we were out there. And then on the 31st, we did our wildland refresher just because that is part of the environment that we live in. So that's all we have. We're just finished up a volunteer academy this last weekend with their last day. They'll be graduating Thursday. And it has been an amazing experience to be on this side of that. It's been awesome. So I love it. Been working hard with Sandy. Chief McKinnon and Chief Snyder have been fantastic and very accommodating and helpful in the whole process. So if you have any questions, love it.
Oh, the station numbers are just heartening.
Yeah, as soon as these guys get on the street, we're gonna get a little bit better. They're gonna work together with some more senior volunteers for, I have it about 2 months, and then in September, we're gonna split them into smaller response crews. So in September, you'll see a significant increase in nights covered. But we did just lose two to other departments, revolving door, but we're producing good product. And that's, I mean, people want it, they know what they're getting when they're hiring someone from Clackamas, so.
Yeah, questions or comments?
I would just like to say one thing for Ryan. He's taken the bull by the horns, jumping in feet first with this and doing an amazing job, dedicating a lot of time to ensuring the quality of candidates that come through that program. So just huge shout out to Ryan and his mentality and what he's bringing to the volunteer program.
And we did have Captain Hahn stole one of my guys out of my academy.
Chief, I'll add on to that as well, that having an academy with Sandy and Boyne volunteers in it, trying to get a July 1 date of having a rig in service for them to respond out of at the Dover station as we're moving rigs around in Sandy, and then having them prepared and everything being able to, for crews to roll out the door on July 1 is a huge feat, and this guy's done it pretty much solo. So it's been really cool that he's just taken the initiative and done it, and great group of people. We saw them yesterday. They went and did all the station tours. Wrapped up, it is a great group of individuals, and they'll definitely help bolster those numbers at the station, so good.
Good job, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you. President Carney.
Sitting too long. Okay, disappointing director's hearing. I grabbed my wrong folio leaving the house, so I don't have the complete election results. I can tell you that this will be the last time I will be addressing you for at least a year. Michael Warden has been elected president. Some other interesting facts. The association has agreed to contribute $4,000 to the livestock auction. And that will be occurring in July. had the opportunity last weekend to represent the district and myself at the Clackamas Emergency Services Foundation, excuse me, didn't mean to say that, at the Clackamas Volunteer Firefighters Association conference. I'm looking forward to the swearing in and the graduation ceremonies. And we are moving forward with our auction plans for the Emergency Services Foundation. I have to say this, today, picking up on the Sandy report that Chief Dieters gave, today I had requests from Sandy for Emergency Services Foundation funds, which will be there by the time the contract for services is in effect. That's all I have. If anybody has questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Question? Thank you. No.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right,
And thanks for your time as president.
all right. So, board members, you have correspondence and informational items in your packet. Any comments you want to make on any of them? None. Next meeting of the Board of Directors will be on Monday, July 17th at 5 p.m. Meeting will be a hybrid, as this is, with the public advised to attend either by remote video conferencing or in person here at this station. So the regular Board of Directors meeting is now adjourned at 7:30.